Hey, everybody, welcome to the Agency Operators Podcast. Today I'm joined by Fred McKinnon of E-Comm Catalyst. How you doing, Fred?
Hey guys, how's it going? Doing good.
I'm excited to have you on. I never had a official musician on the podcast. I've heard your work on your website, beautiful piano playing. You play
Oh man, appreciate it.
any
What
guitar?
was I played just enough guitar to get in trouble. So I mean, I can play a few songs and the basic chords, but by no means am I a guitarist. My oldest son, on the other hand, is a professional full-time touring guitar player with a pretty big country music artist. So he tours all over the country.
That's amazing.
Full
You
time,
guys,
full time, yeah. So he's living the rock star life, but I'll hold up with anybody on the keys, but not on guitar.
you guys play together sometimes, or
Every now and
conflicting
then,
genres?
yeah. Every now and then
Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah, no, we'll jam a little bit.
that's awesome. Well, I know that you have a full service agency similar to myself for the Amazon space. So we're both very niche. And there's a really interesting sequence of events that has to occur in one's life to end up having a company like ours. And I'm sure that's the case in many industries, but I love to hear people's stories because that's the thing. Is like everybody, a lot of the people that come on this show and talk about what they do, a lot of us are doing
Uh-huh.
similar work, but all of us have completely different walks of life, which is something I find very fascinating. So I would love to hear a little bit about your story and kind of how you ended up starting Ecom Catalyst.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So, I've been in the game for over 2 decades. You mentioned I was a musician, so for 25 years of my adult life, I was in full time music ministry in churches. So I was doing more kind of modern contemporary worship style music in a few different churches over my 25-year tenure. If you know anything about most churches and staffs, you're not getting paid enough. You do that for a calling more and not for the money. So I've got 4 kids and they're all young adults now, but growing up with four, and you had to make ends meet. So I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur. And so just kind of stumbled in to selling on Amazon. I started out as a seller when Amazon was called, when the marketplace was called a Z shop and the Amazon Z shop. And so I signed up then and I started in drop shipping. So I learned about drop shipping. I kind of gambled and spent $99, which back then that was a ton of money for us, right? $99 to supposedly gain access, lifetime access to this directory of manufacturers and distributors who would drop ship toys and games and things like that. That's what I was looking for. And so I rolled the dice and like, oh man, we'll see what happens with my $100. And well, the $100, turned into 100+ million over time. It worked. Everything worked. It was what it was should have been. And I signed up for a couple of like computer game, video game accessory distributors and uploaded their catalog feeds to the Amazon Z shop and right away started getting orders, right, as a seller.
Wow.
Drop shipping. So that was back then, I didn't have any integration. So I'd get a sold ship now email from Amazon and I'd go and I would open up the order and I would go to the distributor's website and log in and I would copy and paste the SKU, add to cart, check out, change the address, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, pay with my credit card and wait for the tracking confirmation to come from the distributor and go back to Amazon and paste it in. It was a painful manual process that over time grew with integration and automation. At one point, we had probably 20 to 30 national distributors onboarded into our system and over 500,000 active SKU on Amazon, all drop ship. And over time, that model, it worked great. I was one of about 5 big drop shippers on Amazon. And this is like early 90s. And then everybody started learning how to do it. So everyone else was doing it. And I started to just see margin erosion. So we'd do 14 million in a year and we'd make 2 to 3% on that, in profit
Hmm.
because you're repricing the buy box way down. So finally, somewhere during that time is kind of when, if you remember, there was, I forget what it was called, The Amazing Seller, Scott
Right.
Volker. Yeah, so I drank Scott's Kool-Aid, man. I was like, I'm going to become a private labeler. And him and Chris, I did my touch list and launched my first product. It's just, a copycat product, and stuck a logo on it, got a brand name, and launched my own private label. And I was like, man, I'm making like 35%, 40% margin here. A lot of profit with no stress. I could go to bed and not worry about overselling or not pacing in a tracking number in time. So I kind of got away from that whole huge, massive dropship business. And so that's what I've done, as a seller for years now. And then over time, I phased out of working full time at a church. And when that happened, I really wanted to pursue e-commerce full time. And so I started offering consulting, and that consulting with a few people kind of turned into channel management, which eventually turned into E-Comm Catalyst, which is our full service agency that we have today.
Amazing. And you still manage your own portfolio at the moment, or any of your own private brands?
Yes, I would say I do. And I would say I do it very poorly. In between managing other clients and trying to build my own content on YouTube, I'm like the cobbler's kids have no shoes, right? I was the professional pianist, but none of my kids ever had piano lessons. And it's like, I don't take care of my own house well. People, are like, Google me and start looking me up and find my listings and like, oh man, they're not optimized. They're terrible listings. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty embarrassed of my own brands. I don't get very much attention at all. But I'm kind of that roller coaster guy. So I'm like, oh man, I got to pivot and go back and resurrect my brands. And I'll do that for a while, but I tend to not do well on the day-to-day management of my own brands. Since I really started the agency, I saw the same thing happen, with Stephen Pope at my Amazon guy. He eventually just sold his brands. He had the Sage Sticks, if you follow him.
Yep.
And finally he got out of it. He goes, I'm not a seller anymore. I just run the agency. And of course, all the haters are out there going, oh, he can't even run his own brand. What's he doing running an agency? But that didn't bother me at all, because I knew exactly where he was coming from. It takes a lot of effort to manage a brand properly today on Amazon, which is why folks like you and I, Pasha, exist, and our businesses exist, because people need agency help. They need professionals that can live in that ecosystem 24/7. Yeah.
So, I think also it's easy to just prioritize when somebody's paying you for a service. You want to prioritize them and what they need. And then at the end of the day, you got that little bit of energy left, and it's like, oh, am I going to use those last resources for my own brand? It's hard to kind of make that final push.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a completely different beast when you're running your own brand, because on top of it, you have to deal with all the other layers of stress involved, such as financial management and the internal logistics. Like in my agency, we don't handle the manufacturing and the warehousing and all of that. Like we advise around that, and we help people to ship product in, but we don't actually talk to suppliers and like figure out, what's the new product launch and like what kind of mold we're going to make, or formulations or anything like that. But in my private brand, I do have to do that, and I have to be involved in a lot of these decision making that are like highly tied to your financials, your cash flow, and in many cases that's even tied to your personal expenses and your personal life and the impact that has. So that's been for me just a massive stress just from like the financial management aspect. Even if you do have maybe a CFO or a fractional CFO or a bookkeeper, that's all helpful.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, it's kind of everything's on you. So I'm in the same boat. I have one private brand, which I'm hopefully looking to exit, make my second exit as well at some point. So
nice.
So I can focus, because I really enjoy working with many different people in different categories, working with different brands who are offering completely different products. And it's interesting how it all fits into that Amazon framework, but they're just totally different in terms of how you have to approach it. Maybe the way that you're, the market fit, like you might be, and this is something that's like in the recent years, I've seen like an interesting kind of change, which I'm happy about, is more premium products on Amazon can do well. Before it was always like, you have to be the cheapest. That's the only way. Now I think like you can be the best value in maybe a higher price tier within that sub category. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I'm the same way. I'm like, I'm kind of hard headed in it. I've even had advisors in my mastermind say, dude, you probably should just get out of your brands, right?
yeah,
And focus on the agency. I'm like, I'm hard headed. I at least one or two, I want to stay in the game because, well, it keeps me on my toes, right? As far as what's working, it gives me a testing battleground. I
yep.
test a lot of things in there. And I'm a huge, huge believer in multiple streams of income. So uh, I like the thought of agency revenue, but also like the thought of having a brand that I own that I can exit, like you said, multiple exits. But it's a challenge for sure.
Well, with that being said, I would love to hear more about your theory around, what's working this year. We're actually, believe it or not, approaching the end of the year. I feel like we just celebrated New
Right.
Year's, and here we are. We're already talking about fourth quarter. So, how is this year for you relative to the previous years, and kind of what do you see for the future years? With 2026, is AI going to have an effect? Everyone's always talking about AI. I think,
Yeah.
with Amazon, it's hard to say whether or not it will or will not. It's dependent on the algorithm and what Amazon decides to do. But still,
Right.
from the agency perspective, there's all these, kind of maybe additional solutions that we can uh, implement. So, yeah, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I can answer with both hats. Excuse me, with both hats on. As a brand owner, we're way down this year, but that's only because A, I haven't been putting effort into it, right? And B, almost all of my products, I don't have enough inventory to push. And I haven't reordered products because most of them are manufactured in Asia. And this whole tariff war really just kind of took the wind out of my sails. I didn't want to reorder. I was terrified to reorder and wake up and go, oh man, it's on the boat, but I'm going to have to pay 150% tariff now, right? So we're going to be way, way down. We'll probably be down a 500,000 or more in my own brands this year. Uh, but I don't think that that's necessarily, symptomatic of everyone else. I know we've got brands that are growing on the agency side. We have existing brands that they're crushing it, growing, having their best years ever. I will say, and I'll say this very transparently at my own risk as an agency owner, we found as an agency, our business since the tariff war started, since the spring, has been extremely flat. I don't know what it's been like for you guys at ANZ Optimize, but it's been really hard to sign clients to retainers and to account management agreements. It seems just everybody's sketchy, right? Everybody's hesitant to move forward. So I'm seeing a very soft market. And as far as profitability is concerned, I'm seeing, and we talked about, like, even on this show, talking about profitability. I think it's one of the most important things. It's what I'm probably most passionate about. Profitability is down because everybody's costs have gone up, and you can only just pass so much of that on at once to consumers. So we've got agency. We have clients where they've had to raise their prices as much as 20% to offset the tariffs. And when you try to do that kind of a price increase on Amazon, even if there's no other competitor for the buy box, they'll suppress your buy box, and because it's just too abrupt of a price change. And so even if there's no one else competing, you try to go from $89 to $119. I'm making that math up, but they'll just suppress the buy box, say, yeah, you can't. Amazon just says you can't raise your price that much. Shouldn't be allowed, I don't think, but they do. So, yeah, it's been tough. It's been real tough. It's been a tough year. That being said, over the last week, the leads are coming back like crazy. We signed up 2 new accounts in the last 48 hours. So,
Wow.
it's like people are going, I can't wait anymore. Q4 is right around the corner. It's time to go. It's time to get busy. So I still think at the end of the day, we're going to have a strong Q4. And you asked about AI. I think it's going to make a huge difference. one of my brand partners really kind of loves that stuff, and I've got him digging into it. I saw 2 different articles on LinkedIn and maybe in some private communities this week already where people are rolling out really impressive video ads, display ads, and like meta campaigns, D2C campaigns with complete creatives, graphics, movies, video, everything. And it's all AI based, right? They didn't hire an actor, they didn't hire anything. So,
Yep.
yeah,
I've been
the
seeing
tools
that.
are out there and getting better and better. It's crazy.
Yep. I saw yesterday actually on LinkedIn. There was one thing that was done by Mudwater. It's a pretty
I
popular.
saw that one.
You saw that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one in Mudwater. I sent it with the old people,
Yeah.
stuff they wanted to do. Yeah. What a great concept. And I sent it over to one of the guys on our team, and he was very impressed and started experimenting around with some of those tools.
The VO3.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Crazy. I mean, I feel like, you're at a point where most companies, if they don't have it already in the next year, that's going to be one of your C-suite positions is AI, director of AI, or insert your title, whatever. But if you're not, and I'm an older guy, old guys don't like new tricks. I've been resistant, really. I use Chat GPT all day long. I use it all. I mean, I've got custom GPTs built for Amazon SEO. I have one called Fred's Filter because naturally I'm kind of a blunt person. I call a spade a spade. I say it like it is. So my email responses often need a little empathy and need a little tone adjustment. So I have a GGP just for that, just to say, hey, help me say this with a more winsome tone. I'm not trying to be a jerk. Sometimes I'm just in a hurry and too blunt. And for me, like personally on the fun side, I've built I like to play poker, Texas Hold'em, and I've built a pretty dang impressive custom GPT based on GTO theory and several famous poker coaches. That's feeding me scenarios of what I should and shouldn't do, and asks what I do and why. When I say it, runs it through GTO, and it tells me what so and so, Ivy would say, or Phil, whatever. So it's been a blast. And that's just on the personal side. You can imagine how crazy it is on the business side.
I think that this is Google's play here, because on one hand, you have AI and ChatGPT and all these LLMs that are basically replacing search engines. But on the other hand, you have Google, which is the platform that is providing the information for those search engines. So in many ways, Google is not dead. They're just changing. And when they released this LLM, which is the VEO3 model, the Google Flow, I think it's called, you have to pay $250 a month, I believe, to get access to it, or to have there's some limitations. So anyway, they are progressing things very quickly. It's amazing to see how technology is progressing at all these different angles from different massive companies and what they're bringing to the table. And now when we're talking about Amazon, for sure, they're doing the same thing, just in their own way. But I will say, I went to Accelerate last year. I'm going again this year, by the way. And last year they had a whole booth and a whole thing where they were trying to implement, and they're rolling out all these pilots to their partners about use our AI system to make your content. And always these pilots are so. I think it's still pretty so, but it's getting better. And so if Amazon is doing it natively, I can only imagine what they're doing on the back end in their algorithm. And that's this whole thing about Cosmo and all of that. And the whole shopping experience is changing very quickly. Newer generations, we have to think about the way that they're shopping. And I'm not even talking about, the generation that's entering in now, but what about in 5-10 years? Younger people are just so much more efficient. And so they bring in new behavior that we're completely not even aware of, maybe, or, we only can see it from a statistical standpoint, or maybe just anecdotal.
Right.
So it's pretty bananas. Not to pivot too much, we have somebody that actually just asked the question, are you guys seeing Amazon sales down this year as a whole, across your portfolio? Is that something that you're seeing? That you mentioned that the agency stuff is slow. Does that mean also just Amazon sales are down?
No, I think across the board, I think our sales are up. I
Yeah.
mean, our sales across most of our accounts are up. Um, we have a few clients whose sales are down, and there's very, very specific reasoning that we know. Like, we know, like maybe the niche one in particular, and obviously, I can't get into details or anything, but one's probably down about 30%. And it freaks us out, but their product niche is targeted to a certain demographic that's kind of lost its voice right now. And so we just like unless they pivot, we don't see any way of changing that. This particular product and this product niche and this demographic is not in a good place right now. So it makes sense. But most of ours are up. They're growing substantially. Their profitability may be slimmer, but the sales are up, and especially for our clients that are manufacturing in the USA, because they weren't hit by tariffs. So some of our biggest clients are manufacturing everything here in the United States, and they're on fire. They're doing great right now.
Yeah, and I think that the real question is what you were saying earlier, is profitability down? Because
Yeah,
even if you're getting affected by tariffs, so is everybody else to some
that's right.
extent. And so it's really just about who wants to hold on the longest without making money so they don't lose their spot and their rank. So you
That's
can be
right.
selling fine. You can even be selling more because all your competitors raise their prices. But are you making any money is the question. And I think that for the most part, of course, it's dependent on your category, but people are going to buy stuff. That's just the
That's
nature
right.
of commerce. It's the nature of being a human being. Like we all need things to live and thrive, and especially in the US, is just like ingrained into lifestyle. So I don't think that shopping behaviors are really going to change in that way, even if prices do go up, even if tariffs
You're
are
right.
implemented. I think on a
Yeah,
macroeconomic level, people might have less money or less access to credit, or they have to take more jobs in order to meet, get by. So they might not spend as much on certain luxury items or things that are less
right.
necessary. But if you're in a good category and you're selling something that's truly needed or valuable, something that's consumable, that maybe isn't like a splurge for a lot of people, then I
Yep.
think your business should continue to be fine as long as you're staying in stock and doing the
That's
ads and
right.
doing all the right things. Because the number
Yeah.
one thing that the number one killer on Amazon, people think it's like you have to be like this, like, what's the next hack for content? What's the next hack for ads? I think you have to have a really stable, solid team that knows what they're doing to give you efficient updates and communicate with you back and forth. But I think that the number one thing is inventory. I can't tell
Yeah.
you how many times we've done everything perfectly and the client just wasn't able to get their manufacturing right. And it was nothing that we did on our side, but they ran out of stock. So how can we sell?
Right. That's right. And I think it leads into a lot of times the benefit and the wisdom of brand owners partnering with good agencies
Yep.
um, that are full service, and not just full service, but that have been there and done that, like you guys. And even like what we were doing, one thing we pride ourselves on is that we're managed and run by operators. So our brand partners have been operators, right? They've run their own thing. And so we understand that. So we talk to clients all the time about manufacturing lead time. Whole component of our service at E-Comm Catalyst is logistics, supply chain logistics. So we're not just like, hey, we'll optimize your listing and run your PPC and do your image carousel. I mean, we're really talking to them about supply chain logistics. How many days do you need to get this? Have you thought about this? We're staying on touch of the news and when waterways are closed, when there's congestion in ports. Do we pivot and go East Coast instead of West Coast? All these. You've got to do that because if you run out of inventory, it's the cardinal sin. You can't run out of inventory on your best sellers on anything on Amazon. Just lose so much traction when that happens. And it's like you have to spin all up the flywheel again. You got to push the PPC again. You have to push the external traffic again to regain where you were when you ran out of stock.
Yep. That's exactly it. Fred, if somebody wanted to reach out to you or the guys over at E-Comm Catalyst team, how do they reach out?
Yeah, just hit ecommcatalyst.com. And you can find me here on LinkedIn under Fred McKinnon. Our YouTube is E-Comm Catalyst Co. And then I believe the email partner at ecommcatalyst.com, and they can reach out to us that way as well. So I'm pretty much in a glass house. I've been on social media as long as it was MySpace, right? So I'm easy to find. You can hit me on Facebook, LinkedIn, any of those platforms. I'm real easy to find and try to get back to people as quickly as I can.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on and sharing the wisdom, Fred. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Happy to be the guest. Thanks. And good luck to you guys. Are you going to be in Seattle, you say? Going back to Accelerate?
Yes, I will be. So
okay. See you there. We're heading. I've got to book my tickets, my flights probably today or so, but headed out there with one of our brand partners for the first time. I haven't been yet. So I'm skipping Innovate this year up in your neck of the woods in New York. Yeah. Skipping Innovate this year so I can go up to Accelerate this year.
Accelerate's a lot of fun. You're going to love it. And if anybody's attending, any of the sellers out there listening or any of the service providers, feel free to reach out and we can all meet up and have a good time. So thank you guys for watching.
All right. Thank you.
See you on the next one.
See you.